it was really, really scary the last 3 months I was in it. I was terrified.
I echo what Diane said. It was kind of like you just all of a sudden you got in there and you got used to it, and then all the stress was gone from your life, and then you started, like, your brain re-engaged, and you started to think, well, maybe it's something good, maybe something good will come out of this, you know, and you started to make plans and things, started thinking about, and then you started to see people leaving, you know, and then you would see them on the street and they weren't doing very well, some of them, you know, and then you say, oh my God, it's coming, you know, and you would have to face that reality. So that then it became the stressful part about leaving the program, you know, and they offered us methadone at the end. Everybody was offered methadone. Most of the people chose to take it. I mean, because methadone is, you know, it does help, you know, but it doesn't, for everyone, it doesn't work. Let's put it that way. It doesn't. Methadone's a very scary drug. In that, I think I heard the liquid handcuffs here tonight, and that's it. I mean, most even when people do get off of like street drugs and they go on to methadone, most of the detoxes in British Columbia are filled with people that are kicking street drugs, but they put them on methadone. And I think that we've got pretty close to 12,000 people in British Columbia on methadone maintenance treatment right now, which is, I call it, we've parked 12,000 people. They're sitting in the parking lot, and we've got to look at different ways to deal with it. You know, this is it. And it's back to where being scared at the end. It was just like the last little while.
David and I were within weeks of each other, of getting off, and we were.
You know, like I went in with this thing. I'm going to get off of drugs. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this drug, my drug of choice, and this is going to be my last kick at the can. You know, I really had that thing, and that was like what I used to talk about constantly. That was one of the biggest subjects we talked about around the tables was, what are we going to do when it's over? It was kind of, and then that added to this fear and stress. You know what I mean? It was kind of overwhelming at times. And then the big thing is today. It's so like I never thought that it would affect me the way it does, organizing the group. But I mean, this has really affected me. You know, like going around and actually finding the people that were on the NAOMI treatment program. I'm telling you, some of them are doing very, very poorly. You know, and it's really, really saddening to see it. You know, and I don't take anything away from the scientists that were involved in the research. I mean, their hearts and their plate were in the right place. Everybody that worked at NAOMI, you know, I was exposed to really a lot of caring, loving people who really wanted to help. I know they were limited by this the protocol that they had in place for their study, but at the end of it, I mean, I was told they tried. They went and lobbied the government, you know, here and there, and I guess they didn't knock on the right doors or knock hard enough,
too late,
or pull out their prescription pads and start writing heroin prescriptions. You know, they didn't want. They weren't courageous enough to do that, maybe, but. I think it's so important that we get something in place, or at least a plan of what we're going to do with 322 people. You know,
we were only four of us.
I mean, I don't think that anybody here at this table wants to stop Salome from going ahead. What we want is we want to somehow come up with an exit strategy that's going to work, a caring, compassionate exit strategy that's going to work for the people, which would be instituting some kind of program, you know? Because obviously we're not doing things the best we can, and we have an opportunity here, I think. So I'm gonna, I know Donald, we talked about it, and we talked about it with a lot of other people in the country, and Libby knows, and I mean, this is politician stuff, that we have to start lobbying now. We have to start forming groups now. I mean, other researchers, I think, in other fields to actually go back to the real basics of this, which is called ethics in research. You know, ethically, we have to have a way of at the end, to have not used people. Let's put it that way.
We have 9-10 minutes left. There's a question over here, then I'll give the panel a chance to just say.
Hi, Dave.
Is that Nan or Dave?
seems to me like kind of bizarre that we're going to think about. I'm applauding all that you do for sure. A huge fan of all of you. But this kind of absurdity of thinking of let's push for an exit strategy. I mean, it's just bizarre that we can think that something like this should end. That there should be an exit strategy. Why can't there be? Enough of the research. Don't we know that this is helpful? And can we just like implement a program? What we need is something much more transformative in terms of our overall drug policy. And the other thing I was thinking about is thinking about the ways in which this enabled people to, well, the language is become productive members of society. And I really hope you don't become productive members of society. I really hope you become healthy transformers of the society, because in drug policy and everything and many other fronts, we need significant, deep, radical transformation of the way we do things in the status quo, and that's exactly what you're pushing for. And so when you get on these programs and you get this kind of, chance to breathe again, or, get the liquid handcuffs off, that, the energy and the health can be put into ongoing fight for radical transformation.
We're still out there every time.
I know you are.
So
cheering you on.
it changes that way, you're right.
We're using language that might not be appropriate. I think that, again, talking about what Salome is going to be about too, and I don't know, Anya, can you help me here? Anya, can you help me on what Salome is going to be about what the oral substitution part of it? Part of the Salome will be, they're going to attempt to substitute the drug with an oral drug halfway through for some of the people. And what is that catering to? That's working towards so that we're a pill-popping society. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell it to the public this way. Is that right, or am I wrong on that?
No, sure. If anybody wants to know about Salome, we would be more than happy to answer any question. It's just I don't want to take the fantastic opportunity we have here to listen. You can read about the boring stuff we do, and we can talk, and certainly we can do that. But I think that tonight is about your guys' experience, and I'm learning so much. I'm so grateful that creative writing. Thank you, Susan, for helping with this and putting it together. The thought, because it's really awesome. I laugh, I cry. This is fantastic. So I'm not trying to get away with questions about Salome. I just don't want to. I don't take the time from the panels. I'm here when we finish. If you want to know anything about Salome, but if you guys are okay with that, I prefer you guys talking about the participants' experience.
No, so it's a part of the program will be substitution. Like some of the people will halfway through the year of getting the drug injectable, they'll take half of the people and put them on oral medication of the same kind. So they're going to put people on oral heroin. And I think I'm not privy to why we're doing this, and I don't know what the science is behind it or anything, but I think it's kind of like to be able to sell it to the public kind of thing.
I hope it works.
Like we sell to the public taking a pill, because, everybody's taking a pill for something, isn't it? And that's what the kind of society we've become. So taking a pill is socially acceptable, and maybe we can get rid of some of the stigma and what goes along with it. I think that is part of the plan.
But Dave, in the sense of the part of the question that you did ask too was, you're hoping that our more creative sort of resistance side doesn't dissipate, And I want to assure you and the rest of the audience that when we were doing our creative writing, when we did our focus groups, when we did our brainstorming, the big question was, how can you have these types of programs under prohibition? The larger issue for everybody is drug prohibition and the violence that, results because of this failed project. And so it wasn't as evident, per se, in some of the quotes that we brought to this panel tonight, but that was the backdrop of many of the discussions. How can there be consent under a drug prohibition regime? What does consent look like when the drug of choice, your drug of choice, is criminalized and not available? What does that do to your life then? And so it's not necessary that we